Basketball, give me the ball, cause I'm gonna dunk it. Welcome back to a podcast, everybody. I am Dylan Barrett, joined alongside Kyle Finnegan and Matt Biegel. How are we doing, gentlemen? This is a great day. I gotta say, this is a great day.
It is.
What a day to wake up in New York. But, totally not showing my bias here as the New York Knicks take a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Boys, before we get into it, I just got to know, how are we feeling after the vibes here? Matt, I want to know how you feeling.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't take the trader first. Spurs in 6. It's definitely going to still happen, guys.
Yeah, it totally happened.
But, dude, it's just crazy to see. Even that game last night, I was getting mad. At the half, I was done. And then I saw that last quarter that they were getting close. Dude, I felt the energy, even in my own house. My parents really aren't that big of basketball fans, and even they were going nuts. It's just crazy. Everybody that I know, I saw a bunch of Knicks jerseys today going out. Dude, it's just crazy. The energy that the Knicks are providing to, a poverty sports state. So it's been good. It's been
insane.
great.
It's genuinely, it's to think that this was, a half away from being you would have been seeing no one wear their Knicks uniforms today. It would have been dejection, and instead it feels like the biggest party. But Kyle, you're obviously the Timberwolves fan, but are you at least excited to see Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks up 3-1?
Dude, I'm tired of this fucking Minnesota. Sorry, F word thrown out. But that just shows that the Timberwolves are just frustrating because every time we trade a goddamn player, they go and just win a championship. And I swear to God, if this actually happens, the Cat, congratulations. I've seen you go through heartbreak with the Timberwolves. You deserve it. You do it for your mom. You do it for your family. Congrats if this is what happens.
Hey, I don't know if there's any fan base that might be feeling more heartbreak outside of that, other than maybe the Kings, who have to watch De'Aaron Fox play against Mike Brown the year after having to watch Tyrese Halliburton play in the finals. I think they got a little bit there for you, but yeah, that's got to. It hurts because that's been your boy for all these years, and you would always text me, "Oh, and thanks for that Cat trade." And now, of course, he finally shows up in this playoff run. Obviously, the job's not finished. The Knicks still have to close out one more game. We've seen LeBron James be able to come back from 3-1, and Wemby's compared to be generational. So if Wemby's generational, he might be able to come back 3-1. And I'm just please. Please end this. Hey, you laugh. I am superstitious as hell. It's the Knicks, all right? It's not done until it is done.
In your head.
This game the series is not finished. We can't celebrate early, all right? That's what everyone was doing going into the Garden, and look what happened. Then they came in and lost Game 3, and everyone was sitting there thinking, oh, God, what's going to happen now? And then everyone's like, oh, my, they're going to lose Game 4, until the Wu-Tang Clan apparently changed the vibes, all right? I'm just going to say them and Danhausen's curse is still real, man, all right? The largest comeback turnaround and largest comeback lead. Comeback win. I'm so flabbergasted by the fact that it was a 29-point comeback by the Knicks.
Insane.
Who would think the Knicks had a comeback win? It's crazy. But genuinely, guys, Game 4, that biggest comeback, as I mentioned, what happened? What went wrong, I guess, for the Spurs? But just how did this happen in the first place? Kyle, let's start with you.
It's Karl Anthony Towns taking that defensive uptake in this series. The first couple of games, he's been physical with Wemby. It's thrown Wemby off, and it's shown in doubles, and Karl Anthony Towns putting up 21 points. He's been a rebound machine for them. He's out rebounding a 7'5" giant out there, which is insane for Karl Anthony Towns, who barely could do this with the Timberwolves, which is why I'm so flabbergasted. Why Karl Anthony Towns, why didn't you do this? You could have made the finals with us and Anthony Edwards, but no, he chose the Knicks. Dylan, congratulations.
Whoa, chose the Knicks.
He's actually showing up for you.
Your management was like, nah,
listen,
we'll trade him. You guys, we'll take Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. No,
it's just like how we're about to give up on Julius Randle right after this offseason.
Dude, if I watch Julius Randle end up going to a finals after that,
I swear to God, if that happens too, we gotta all believe that this Timberwolves curse is actually real.
No, it genuinely. I like you said, you had that for a while. I thought it was the Knicks curses. And it used to have the what? It was for 50 years. There was a former Knick that was always in the finals, but now we can, if we want to make it the Timberwolves curse, I'm more than fine with that. Matt, what happened? How did this come? Like, I know you were basically ready to turn the television off. How did this happen to where the Knicks could have this type of comeback win?
It was just a complete collapse from the Spurs. You know, they were shooting threes like they were confident. I know in the first half they were hitting basically all of them, but then they got a little too cocky. They were trying to lead by a great margin instead of trying to defend their lead, waste clock. They were just throwing up shots. They were just not playing like a team that's in contention would be, not a team that's down a game in the finals. They were just playing too much. And, you know, they were obviously letting the players make decisions that were terrible for the actual outcome of the game. I mean, we have Wemby pulling up from mid-court when, you know, there's still a few seconds left. You have, layups thrown when there's 11 seconds from De'Aaron Fox that are getting blocked, and that pretty much sealed the game out for the Spurs. So they've been letting a lot of decisions be made by the players themselves, and their game plan has just collapsed at the end most of the time.
For sure. Like you mentioned, they were shooting the lights out in that first half. I believe from the numbers I saw from overall, I think it was like 14 to 26 or something from like the first half. Like I knew they had, I think, tied the most amount of three-pointers in a half. And then the second half, they were 3 of 17 from what I've seen, if I have my numbers correct. But they were, like you mentioned, they were comfortable shooting that three ball. They were rolling with it early, and it felt like, all right, you're up 29, 25 or whatever the case is. It's just like, all right, let's just keep shooting threes. I think I saw it was 8 straight 3-point misses, and I'm like, why are you shooting nothing but three-pointers? And also, if you're the coach, how do you not tell your guys, hey, I want to see some inside game. We keep missing these shots. If they keep doing it, all right, do it. Tell them again. If they keep doing it, sub some guys in to do it. Like, you got to take control of the situation. Coach that, because to give up that many, it just, come on. Like, that is an utter, disaster case of a coaching job from the Spurs there. And like you guys mentioned, it was a total collapse in terms of shooting. But the two guys I think who deserved most of that blame. All right, obviously people want to talk about hey, De'Aaron Fox doesn't deserve the whole blame for, that last play. De'Aaron Fox also was missing so many shots in that last stretch. All right, I'm sorry. That man definitely deserves some of the blame. You're getting definitely points to Wemby missing those 2 free throws at the end, but also not to throw shade towards the guy who's not maybe the star of the team, but Julian Champagnie has been a 3-point machine, and then that man just disappeared this game. What was he? I think I saw he was 2 for 9 this game. Yeah, 2 for 9, 1 for 7 from 3. Brother, if you please keep doing that, I pray, because oh my God, this man was scaring me from 3-point land the last 3 games, and then him and hell, Stephon Castle didn't have a great game either. But I could go on and on and on about how the Spurs just seemingly collapsed for this game. But I gotta know. Like we talked about before, De'Aaron Fox taking that layup right at the end there when he could have easily dribbled the ball out when they were in the bonus, 10 seconds left, could have made them foul and send them to the line. With that decision, is De'Aaron Fox public enemy number 1 right now in the NBA fans' minds? Matt, let's start with you.
Well, it depends what team you're rooting for. If you're a Knicks fan, he is the best guy ever in MSG. But if you're a Spurs fan, you're questioning why. Why would you do something like that? You have enough time. You should know. I mean, it's not like you're new to the league. You should know what clutch plays should be like, and getting chased down by the one, the only OG Anunoby. He was just completely there for the last 2 possessions with that block and then with that tip in. It was just insane to see that sort of collapse from the Spurs, and it's just been absolutely great to see somebody that you think has enough experience in these clutch moments to provide something throw up that terrible layup.
Yeah, no, it genuinely, for Fox, if this was 4 years ago, that man would have dunked that ball in. But to take that up with OG Anunoby behind him, in my mind, I feel like he was probably thinking, hey, there's not 10 seconds left on the clock. He's not thinking they're in the bonus. If he puts that ball in, that's gonna just rip the fucking heart out of this team. It's gonna pull all the air out of this arena. I feel like that's what he was thinking, and instead he got lost in the moment. It's something that happens. But Kyle, as we were talking about De'Aaron Fox being public enemy number one, I gotta know, do you feel like De'Aaron Fox has earned the most of the credit for this kind of collapse, or do you think that, hey, there are some other guys who deserve some of the blame here too?
I wonder if he's still injured, and that's why he's playing to this effect. But either way, throughout this entire playoffs, De'Aaron Fox has been just up and down, up and down. As you saw, Game 1, very bad. Game 3, bounce back, and here we are, Game 4, horrible. Look what he did. Bad sequence. So it just shows that De'Aaron Fox has just struggled throughout this playoffs, no matter what team he's gone up against.
I couldn't agree more. He came out, shot 4 for 9 there. Wasn't the greatest performance there. Like, only 9 shots there out of your $240 million player. But look, we can brag on the Spurs all we want, but genuinely, this series is 3-1, but it doesn't feel like this series really should be 3-1. A lot of these games have been really close down to the wire on the final shot. I gotta know from you guys, does the 3-1 series tag here for the Knicks show how close this series is, or has it really been that much, I guess, in the Knicks' favor? Especially knowing that, hey, a lot of these games have, like I mentioned, come down to that final shot. Kyle, let's start with you.
Not really. I mean, these games have been close nail biters between like 1 to 2 points that these games have come to. So it just shows that offensive firepower that we talked about in the last podcast that the Knicks have. They're just, going with the 3-ball. It's going in at a high clip compared to what, the Spurs did, especially this last game where they were trying to hit nothing but threes and nothing was going down. So just that offensive firepower that the Knicks brought into this, series is just taking over, and the defense just can't catch up.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. That Knicks firepower has been something, especially when you're coming off a 7-game series against OKC. Like, it's something that's hard to keep up with when they're just constantly attacking. Like, last game they got away from it in Game 3, where you notice they kind of just started settling a lot for their threes, and that's when the Spurs were able to really take that game away from them and hit those clutch shots. But like I was talking to Kyle there, Matt, like we mentioned, it was 3-1 series lead, but does that 3-1 lead really show that, hey, or tell that the Knicks have been that dominant team over the Spurs, or do you think this series is a lot closer than what that series number is kind of showing?
Yeah, it's definitely been close, but the real difference we've seen in these teams is their clutch moments. We've seen, Wemby completely brick from mid-range in a shot he should probably be comfortable with at this point. And then we're seeing De'Aaron Fox just throwing up stupid layup when there's still 10 seconds remaining. You have time. But then, you see the Knicks. Game 1 wasn't really that clutch. They outbeat them by 10 points. So, it was kind of towards the end. We kind of already knew that the game was over, that the Knicks were going to win. But especially seeing, this OG tip in, that is something that was a completely huge defensive collapse on the Spurs. I mean, Wembanyama was guarding Jalen Brunson from 3. I get it. But then also you have nobody that's taller than 6'5" in that paint. Absolutely nobody to guard OG Anunoby. You give him the freest putback of his life. And it was an insanely good tip. But still, he had not an insane amount of pressure considering the height differential. But we've also seen a bunch of second half comebacks from these Knicks. We saw the 22-point comeback against the Hawks. And now we're seeing a finals record coming back to take that second half. So it has been close, but the Knicks have definitely taken it that step up so that, to where they've actually won games. They've survived past the pressure, and they've just been on a tear. They lost the one game, but still, of their last 14 games, they've won 13 of them. That isn't easy to do. I know people are saying that's the East, but still, you have opportunities to lose one single game in that whole series, but no. They didn't. So they've just been a lot better, a lot more clutch. And go Knicks.
I couldn't agree more, man. Go Knicks. But definitely, people want to say, oh, it's the East. The East is weak. But, I'm sorry. Even when you've had teams that are weak coming out of the East, they still lose to those other teams. The Knicks dominated those teams. As you mentioned, they had the comeback win, which was against the Cavs, not the Hawks. I know they did have some crazy nail biters against some Hawks, or they did have close comebacks. And hell, I know they had I think they had the one where CJ McCollum and stuffed it at the end with that game winner at 11 seconds. But literally, who would have thought 34-year-old CJ McCollum would be him, and now obviously the alien with Wemby, but McCollum was the biggest threat to the Knicks early on, and now the Spurs have been obviously, like you mentioned, I feel like it's been a lot closer than the last 2 games could have been easily decided by, or sorry, not 2 games. Game 2 could have easily been decided by that one shot with Wemby literally missing the shot over Mitchell Robinson. He missed his bread and butter shot, which if that goes in, and then, yeah, if De'Aaron Fox doesn't literally go for that layup there and he just dribbles out the clock or gets fouled and gets sent to the line, that's easily another, like, this Spurs could have easily been up 3-1 in this series. And it just feels so insane to me that the Knicks have gotten this luck almost, while also being able to battle back and fight their way all the way back to stay alive. Like you can't call it total luck when you're coming back for 29, but to be able to have, hey, Wembanyama misses the shot, be able to have OG Anunoby's tipping go right in the hoop like he's been practicing it for like 100,000 times. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I cannot wait to name my first son the Hand of OG. It's going to be amazing. But I do want to touch on one thing before we go to our next question. You mentioned the clutch gene there, Matt, and obviously Wemby's only 22, and he's going to keep getting better. But so far in the clutch in the NBA Finals, Wemby has hit the backboard on a 3. He has airballed a 3. He has 2 clutch turnovers. He has 1 game winner miss, 2 missed open layups, and 2 bricked free throws to give the Spurs a lead before De'Aaron Fox even had that layup attempt there. That man let the Garden get to him. So all I know is when he says, I'm in your head, nah, buddy, the final moments are in your head, and they are not easy for you. The lights are too bright, and he is not shining, all right? That star ain't ready, and I told you guys in episode 1 of this podcast that OKC Spurs didn't matter. They had to go through the New York Knicks, and damn it, they're still got to go through the New York Knicks. One more game is all they need, and Wembanyama, you better start showing up in the clutch if you're going to want to put the New York Knicks away, because if you can't put them away down up 29 points, like, come on. This is Knicks in 5, baby. Like, it's so easy. But they've watched the equivalent of 23 or 28-3 happen in basketball. Pretty amazing. You know, obviously we can go on and on, but we talked a little bit before about Cat and some of the other great players, but who do you guys think has so far been the biggest difference maker in this series overall? Matt, let's start with you.
So if we're talking about the series overall, I mean, Josh Hart, he has been out here playing the game of basketball, and a pure game of basketball at that. I mean, he's almost averaging 10 rebounds a game. He has 38 over the whole series. He had game 1 with 15 boards. He's been creating more offense, more possessions. He's just been really good. I mean, you can argue that Jose Alvarado has come out of his shell a little bit. I mean, last game, he had 8 points in the fourth quarter. He was really helping the Knicks solidify that lead over the Spurs. He was shooting 3 of 4, 2 of 3 from 3. And he only played for 16 minutes. He had 3 minutes, I believe, right in the first quarter just for a little bit. And then he came out, played the whole fourth quarter, and he was there. He helped. So he was definitely a great addition in, of course, that fourth quarter. But for the whole series, I got to give it to Josh Hart. He's been dominant. And, you know, people aren't really talking about him unless he's dropping 20, 25 points. But he's been dominant the whole series.
Yeah, that's an excellent take there. I think Josh Hart has been huge for the Knicks this series. Big shout out Jose Alvarado, though. I feel like Mike Brown making the decision to go with him and Jalen Brunson that fourth quarter is what made them have that big comeback. But, Kyle, we were talking about some of the guys earlier on. Who do you think has been the biggest difference maker on either end for the series overall?
I think you guys already know who I'm going to go, because I've watched this guy get drafted to the Timberwolves in 2015. And, you know, we thought going into these playoffs, Cat won't do it. And now we're looking at him like, holy shit, Cat's doing it. This man has a 50% field goal percentage rate at the moment. You know, 19 points per game, 10 rebounds per game. 3-point percentage is at almost a 40% clip. This is insane what he's doing, and this is what's also helping the Knicks go. I know the last couple of games he's gotten into foul trouble, which is what he's always had on the Timberwolves, was foul trouble, which is what I've known. So seeing that doesn't make a difference, but you know, him on the defensive side of the ball is what's making the difference for the New York Knicks, especially when you got OG, McHale, and you got Josh playing at high rates, and then you got Cat, who's actually buying in on Mike Brown. You can't go wrong. It's just Cat who's making the difference for the New York Knicks at the moment.
I think you put it perfectly there. I personally agree with you. Cat, I think, has been the biggest difference maker. It's also why I feel like the Spurs have tried to get him out of games early on because, like you said, Cat does have a tendency to get himself some dumb fouls, and if you can get him to take those dumb fouls early and force him out, like Wembanyama has to step out to the three-point line to guard Cat because he knows he has to respect his shot. As much as I love Mitchell Robinson, you only have to worry about, hey, don't you laugh at Mitch Rob, all right? We love Mitch Rob here, all right?
No,
Mitch Rob is my
great,
king.
But his free throw and three-pointer are nothing to...
Well, yeah, obviously. He's a traditional center, but the one thing that's still crazy is they keep throwing him freaking lobs when he's got a broken hand. But like we said, because of that being most of his game, though, Wemby can play more so inside and not have to worry about, like, hey, I don't have to respect Mitch's shot, and also they can get him out with the hack and Mitch eventually. But Karl Anthony Towns, on both ends of the floor, Kyle, like you said, he has been unstoppable. I feel like Wembanyama he gets uncomfortable when he has to guard him. He's uncomfortable when he's being guarded by him. Like, I know people are arguing, like, hey, Cat's got his arms all wrapped up around him, but, you know, hey, if we're going to start pulling the foul conversation, you know, we can really, really get into it with the numbers, you know, but I have some more better numbers instead of getting into those. We have the Cat stuff here, which is Cat right now leads all NBA players in plus minus this postseason at plus 262. He is all players in the NBA Finals. He is leading at a plus 48, and it is posted a plus minus that is positive in every single one of these 18 games for the Knicks during this postseason run, which is the longest streak in NBA postseason history. For a guy who was soft, and a guy I was very sad when we got because I thought he was soft, I am sorry, Karl Anthony Towns. I am sorry. I owe you an apology. I was... people know, like who in my close circle know, I was so devastated we lost Dante DiVincenzo, and, you know, I still feel bad for Dante, but, oh my, that's really crazy in hindsight now. But, you know, I kind of touched on it. You know, I'm going to throw you guys a curveball because we didn't really talk about it too much, but we've texted about this a good bit. You know, even with this being a 3-1 series game, and you can argue this on either side, has this series had a big influence by the refs, do you believe? Or do you think that it's kind of overblown and kind of been used as more so an excuse when someone's team isn't really doing so good? Kyle, let's start with you.
I'm going to be honest, the refs have been a problem throughout this playoffs because I think we had a couple of calls on the Timberwolves series at one point where we were wondering, like, hey, those are Wembanyama, the blocks, man, the blocks, goaltending, everything like that, and that the refs weren't calling goaltending fouls and stuff like that. So I feel like the refs in general just haven't been the greatest throughout the playoffs, and it's showing in the finals, definitely. You know, especially when you're bouncing Brunson off the goddamn floor court like a goddamn basketball. That poor bastard.
You can pick him up and shoot him and you get a 4-point bonus.
So, like, when you're getting calls like that, and you've seen it in series before, it's just the refs this entire playoffs.
I agree. Every series has had a lot of discussion about, the refs have influenced here, the refs have influenced that. And, like, obviously, like, a big one was talked about was Game 3 and Game 2. Like, Game 2, like, everyone was going crazy on Twitter. I saw with, like, that whole second half where it felt really one-sided. And then, again, I forget what it was, like, 18 free throws to the Knicks 3 in the second half of Game 3, where, like, people were like, oh, well, the Knicks got to stop fouling. But then when I'm watching Jordan Clarkson and Cat get hacked and there's nothing, but then someone gets breathed on the other end, it's like, I just think, look, I agree. I think for both ends on either side, whether it's been when it was the OKC Spurs series and it was getting calls on both ends, or it's been this Knicks Spurs and both teams have been getting calls or no calls. Like, I want to just see, like, I don't know, some consistency, I feel like, because if you're going to let them play, then let them play, but then there will be, like, the first foul in, 18 seconds of the game? Like, yeah, he kicked out and hit the guy a little bit, but, like, again, that felt like a weak foul compared to, like, I don't know, 95% of the other things I've seen not get called during the series. But, Matt, how do you feel about the refs' involvement during these finals and just overall playoffs in general?
3 blind mice is the best way that I can describe it. Dude, I have been so mad that they have been playing ethical basketball, such ethical basketball throughout this entire finals. Flagrants are being called, I could brush my hand against your shoulder If it's against Wembanyama or Stephon Castle, dude, I'm getting a flagrant too. I'm getting kicked out. I'm going back home. It's just been ridiculous to see how, I get it. The NBA's a business. They want to kind of protect their golden boy a little bit, but there's a point where that something is up inside of that room where all the refs are together. How do you not call a flagrant when you have an actual meeting after the game to say that it's not a flagrant, unless you want to protect somebody? It's just, I don't know if Victor Wembanyama slipped them their whole paycheck, or Adam Silver got in there, here's $300 million. Don't call anything against the Spurs. But it's been ridiculous. Like, I want to see some actual good basketball. This would be a great series if it was called fairly on both sides, but no, we're seeing Wembanyama throw people at the ground and then laugh at it. And, well, thankfully, game 4, he was trying to, be cocky again, and it ended up, kind of biting him in the butt at the end. You missed 2 very clutch free throws, which you're not. It doesn't happen often with him. He's very good at the line, and, he's completely falls apart when the pressure gets to him. We've seen it, and it's just sad that that's what they need to resort to do in order to actually be close and to be competitive in these games. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I would say last game the Knicks did shoot 8 free throws more, which felt crazy because when I think they had a crazy first half disparity where even though they were down 20 plus, they still had 14 more free throws for the Knicks. I was like, damn, this feels like we're actually trying to get help. But like you mentioned before, the disparity, and we've talked about it a little bit. Brunson getting shoved down, how does that not get upgraded to a flagrant? When he gets clearly pushed down, and people are like, oh, he has a handful of jersey, and that's his response. Come on. Especially if you don't want to tell me that one, okay, Jose Alvarado gets headlocked and thrown by the dude. Or, in my opinion, the clearest, easiest one you could call is when he literally impacts Josh Hart's landing zone with his big-ass leg, and Josh Hart lands on his leg. The same way they call a flagrant for Jalen Brunson on that with Julian Champagnie. But because Hart didn't fall down to the ground, they don't call the flagrant for him. It's just, especially now, when you look at it, okay, had he gotten that flagrant upgraded and then he gets the flagrant last game, he would have been suspended for the game 5, 3-1. So, I understand why they didn't want to upgrade and let him play like it, but now, there has to be that tight window, hey, you can't be doing that. He's put them in such a predicament, because I get it. He's 22 years old. He's still, figuring out his full body in the league, but also at the same time, he's gonna have emotional moments where, hey, he's gonna get annoyed when people are throwing bodies at him. He's gonna throw his size around, but call it. You gotta call it. It's just, I saw something that in the first 3 games. Now, obviously, we just had game 4 the other night, but through the first 3 games, the total number of free throws was 84 for the Spurs, 61 for the Knicks. This was despite the Knicks averaging more drives per game, which was 54 versus 52. And more shots in the paint, which was just not including the non-restricted area. Spurs had 155 drives that led to 22 free throw attempts. The Knicks had 162 that led to 6 free throw attempts. And half the time, these were also needed to be challenged they had to get in Game 2. Or in some of these, were also hack-a-mitch free throws. It's insane to me. But even when you get the refs involved, you can't kill the Knicks because the Knicks are unkillable, man. It's then something where, I don't know. Some games definitely I feel like the refs have had some involvement, but I don't know. The one loss for the Knicks did lose. I don't think that was total refs, but they did get kind of hoed by those refs. But
Dylan, I'd like to add something onto the whole fiasco of the whole the fistful of jerseys and everything. I've watched in the Timberwolves series. You could find these videos probably online and show them in the TikToks. You have Anthony Edwards grabbing Wembanyama's jersey and him crying like a baby, and him doing the same exact thing to Jalen Brunson and all of the other guys, and him wondering, going around oh, where's the foul? You know what? I'm tired of seeing all these players and everything that just act hypocritical. Just take the foul, deal with it. You had someone else do it, and you acted like a baby. Just own up. Own up.
It's personally why my favorite player from the Spurs watching this series because of that has been Dylan Harper. Bro is just, I feel like I don't see any emotion ever in his face other than, he gets a little bit hyped every once in a while. But bro is just so nonchalantly murdering Knicks on the other end sometimes, where he'll be, body you, drive, and he'll hit a good 3. I And if I haven't seen him complain like one time. And it's crazy because I feel like he should be the one who would be complaining the most because he'll be like cooking and then they'll take him out with 10 minutes left in the game and just don't want him to play anymore. Or if they do, someone mentioned before, he was the primary rebounder on the Brunson shot, and he's 6'5", which I love Dylan Harper, but and I get you want to have the DPOY on the guy taking the final shot, arguably, but you should probably have the 7'5" guy underneath the rim. But
not on the 3-point line.
Yeah, I get it. Especially considering that Brunson, just 2 minutes earlier in game time, had drilled a 3 in his mouth. Not that that's going to happen every single time. It's 7'5", dude. But he got a good shot off over him, hit the rim, and then went to a perfect spot for OG. Okay, great, but we can go all back and forth. But now, obviously, next game is going to go to San Antonio. If you're one of the San Antonio coaches or just in that locker room, what is the number one adjustment you have to make to try and stay alive right now? Kyle, let's start with you.
Stop Jalen Brunson. They haven't been able to stop him. He's been just draining those threes and everything. 30-point games left and right. On top of that, they really haven't also been able to stop Cat offensively. Like I said in one of the podcasts, if OG can get a 30-point game, which just happened, the Knicks are just going to steamroll the Spurs. So everything's going the way that I said it needed to go. 30-point game, OG. Cat is playing and buying in on Mike Brown. Brunson's playing the way that we wanted him to. Knicks are going to win the finals.
Like it. And Matt, same question goes to you.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, I mean, they didn't really seem to have much of a game plan going into these clutch time situations. I mean, I don't know what coach is telling De'Aaron Fox to throw up a layup with 10 seconds left, not to hold on to the ball at all. I don't understand how that was not part of a game plan. In case you get the ball back, take a timeout. I think they had one timeout left. And then they just completely went away with it. So you need to really talk to your guys about these clutch time moments, get them at least in better position. Wemby, go to the paint. I mean, you got 2 seconds left. You could at least try to go for a layup. You're 7'5". Why are you trying to shoot like Jalen Brunson on the elbow and then realize that you're not Jalen Brunson because you completely brick it and sell your team? But it's just that clutch time is really the most important thing that they've been really giving up on. And it's just, don't trust everybody all the time. You got to work together as a team in these clutch moments, and they really, really have not been.
No, I agree. It's been a lot of that meatball. I feel like sometimes, like you mentioned, Wemby there, you got to really put it away there instead of, I feel like, I agree. They did have the one timeout. I understand not using that to try and get a bucket when you're up at 1 point. De'Aaron Fox literally should have just went underneath the rim, just kept going, run all the way back 3, makes OG have to keep chasing him, or when Knicks players was coming from the other side and have to foul him there. You would have easily been able to get probably 4 seconds off, send De'Aaron Fox to the line, and as bad as, De'Aaron is, he's a pretty solid free throw shooter. He would have been able to probably put those in. So, it is what it is. I'll take it, especially, the other thing, too, we didn't even really touch on it before, just a quick mention, but, the fact that they then had that, and then Jose Alvarado almost gets a backcourt violation, but somehow, knows the rule to not bring the ball up, but brings his full body over the line and then goes back, and they get, I think it was a foul, not a timeout, but, it just, yeah, because they had to foul the give, and that's what the net, how does De'Aaron Fox let that happen in that situation is beyond me, but, as we were talking adjustments, you can make all the adjustments you want, but we have a set game for potential Knicks finals win as they're now up 3-1. But doesn't mean it's going to be the end, boys. As, we've seen comebacks before, so I got to know what's the prediction right now. Will this series end in 5, or is there still more basketball to be played after San Antonio on Saturday, Matt?
Oh, I remember in Game 2, Wemby was saying how that loss was motivation for them to win. And I don't know if that's going to, bring motivation for them to win again at home. At this point, you kind of have to feel, somewhat defeated because, we have 37 out of 38 times teams that are leading 3-1. And, sorry, Wemby's not LeBron. And I mean, he might get somewhere close in the next few years, but he's only 22. He still has a lot of stuff to learn and a lot of basketball left to play. I mean, we've been seeing all of these pressure shots that has just been absolutely terrible. With free throws, the mid ranges. We haven't seen him take a really clutch three in these finals, but with the other two that he's been absolutely being terrible at, I wouldn't expect him to really be insanely clutch even at the three as well. So it's just a matter of fact of, can you perform when it matters most? And these Spurs haven't been able to. So I'm still saying Knicks in 6. I think maybe that there might be an insanely close game on Saturday. I'm hoping that I can watch game 6. If it goes to that, hey, Knicks in 5 is never going to be upsetting to me. But I think that the Spurs might be able to take one more. I mean, they've lost by 1 point, and it was close. I mean, they dropped the finals record for 3.5, and they're still going to be maybe on fire depending on how much that tank of not putting any points was on the game 4 that we just had. So it'll be interesting to see.
Definitely. It's going to be, it's like a powdered keg almost for this game 5 possibly. And if they go to game 6, I feel like it's going to be even crazier. But if they Spurs do force that, game 6, is there more pressure there, Kyle? Like, do you think that there's potential for that game 6 to even be forced, or do you think that the Knicks are going to wrap this up in 5?
I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs could get at least one more win, a pity win. But I also don't, wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks also win it in 5. So either way, I could see it going to either team depending on who wants it more this game. And do the Knicks want to actually end it all and take the trophy home, or do the Spurs want to try to, get one more game at MSG and try to see if they could win and bring it back to San Antonio? So it all depends on really who just wants it more.
If I'm this Knicks team, I agree. It's coming down to who wants it more, and if I'm the Knicks, you gotta want it more. You gotta put it away. Like, we saw what happened when they took the 2-0 lead, and then they came back to the Mecca and put the pressure on themselves and shut it down with game 3 to try and go for the sweep, and then they started crumbling, making sloppy mistakes. I think you got to go now. Obviously, like you mentioned, Spurs could be like, "Hey, we're gonna defend home court. We can't lose it here." But I don't want that added pressure of, all right, you're up only 3-2 now. You're at home. Got to try and shut it down. Like, as much as I would love to see the Knicks win the championship at home court, I just getting to do that on Wembley's court after all the fouling and flagrants, it'd be so cathartic, especially after the last time the Knicks were in the finals. They lost to the Spurs. To be able to do it on their home court, I think would probably be the best way this finals could end for the New York Knicks. But regardless, as long as the New York Knicks win the championship, I think New York Knicks fans aren't going to care if that city's going to burn. But that is unfortunately all the time we have tonight. It's been a great finals so far. We'll be seeing you once this game 5 comes to an end. Who knows? Maybe it's the end of the NBA season, or maybe we have more basketball to talk after. Who knows? But I've been Dylan Barrett. That's Matt Biegel, boy Biegel, and that's Kyle Finnegan. We're a podcast, and so long for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.